After getting drunk, I finally worked up the nerve to confess to my crush, only to catch him doing something shameful while staring at my photo. I braced for him to throw me out of the classroom without a word, but instead he yanked me into his arms and kissed me hard, his voice rough at my ear, as he said he'd liked me all along. And just as we were wrapped up in each other, footsteps sounded in the hall. So he bundled me in his school jacket and shielded me against his chest. After the coming-of-age ceremony, everyone started confessing to their crushes. People assumed I'd use the chance to cling to Larry and force him to be with me. But even after the crowd thinned, I never showed. He didn't know that in an empty classroom, I was straddling his best friend's lap, forcing myself to speak through the heat in my cheeks. "I'm right here. You don't need my photo anymore." Jason's gaze dropped to the hem of my uniform skirt, which I'd purposely shortened by 4 inches, and his jaw clenched. "Belle, get off me now. It's not too late." At the banquet afterward, almost everyone got drunk. Even the shy girls were buzzed enough to confess to their dream guys. A friend leaned in and whispered, "Belle, are you going to tell Larry?" Larry was surrounded. Some handed him letters, some little gifts. He thanked them like a gentleman but turned them down one by one. When the class beauty, Jessica, shyly came over to confess, the energy in the private room shot through the roof. My friend watched me, worried. I just smiled and slipped out. The moment I left, Larry turned Jessica down. "Dude, you even rejected the class beauty. What kind of goddess are you waiting for?" "Don't tell me Isabel chased you so hard you're over girls now." "Speaking of Isabel, where'd she go?" "She was just here at dinner. Heard she had her uniform skirt cut shorter this week. Must have gone to change into battle gear. Sounds like she's set on locking our Larry down tonight." Larry leaned by the window with a drink. As his buddies kept talking, he let out a mocking laugh. "You think she's got what it takes? Isabel's gorgeous, man." "Larry, you're really not tempted? Seriously, those legs, long, pale, slim, and that sweet face, her smile even gets to me. If it gets to you, you take her home tonight." Larry's voice went cold. He glanced at Isabel's empty seat and walked out. We were 18 now, officially adults, and plenty of couples, or almost couples, had an unspoken understanding. Word was the cheap motels nearby had been booked out. A few bold girls in our class had even slipped hotel keycards to the boys they liked. Everyone had been bottled up too long and wanted to cut loose. If it were the old Isabel, she'd be glued to Larry right now. I flagged a cab at the curb. A WeChat ping popped up Larry. "Jessica just confessed. Should I say yes?" That's when I noticed our chat had frozen 2 months ago. He'd never replied to my last message. I hadn't reached out again. If I didn't text him, he sure wouldn't text me. Him messaging first today was odd. I didn't answer. I closed the app. As I walked through the school gate, my phone started blowing up. Screenshots of Larry and Jessica's official post. I opened it. They were in a photo together, Larry holding her tight. I didn't feel a thing. 3 months ago, I realized I'd become the cannon fodder second female lead in a novel. Larry is the male lead. Jessica, the heroine, is also my half-sister. After learning who she was, I hated her. I fought her at every turn and ruined my life because of it. In the end, Larry had me committed, and I died miserably before 30. When I'd read the book, I hadn't liked the leads much. I'd always liked the supporting guy, Jason. The author even hinted he liked a girl. Then the story tanked, and that thread was never tied up. I kept guessing who she was. A month after I landed in the book, I busted Jason's secret, then I knew. One night, long after evening self-study, I went back for the phone I'd left and found Jason sitting in my seat. His screen was lit. My photo filled it. The classroom was so quiet, I could hear his slightly ragged breathing. Every so often his arm bumped the desk, the scrape against the floor, a sharp squeal. I froze, mortified and clueless. Only then did it hit me how unhinged this stupid book could be. Jason saw me. He didn't stop. When he finished, he stood, eyes lowered as he tied the drawstring on his sweats. Then he looked at me, Face blank. Voice cool. Isabel, get a good look? I stammered forever before anything came out. I mean, no, I didn't see a thing. He seemed to let out the faintest laugh. He brushed past me at the door. A clean, woody scent drifted by, underlaid with something strange. My face flared hot. Jason suddenly stopped and glanced back at me. Larry's not right for you. I stared, startled. Jason! He turned and headed out. Forget it. Whatever. Pretend I didn't say it. Jason was the campus untouchable. The crown prince from the capital with looks you couldn't compete with. During our dorm's late-night chats, his name came up more than anyone's. But he was aloof and kept to himself. He barely acknowledged girls at school. Not until I walked in on his secret did I realize he had this hidden side. And that secret lit a small, shameful spark of joy in me. When I reached the first floor, I called him. It took a while before he picked up. Jason, what do you need? I'm downstairs by the classrooms. The motion sensor lights in the stairwell are out. It's pretty dark. I'm scared. Jason didn't answer. A few seconds later, the call ended. I leaned against the wall, a little blank. Maybe Jason had fallen into this book too. Maybe the girl he liked wasn't me anymore. Then footsteps echoed in the stairwell. I snapped my head up. Moonlight stretched his lean, tall frame. In the play of shadow and light, I caught the sculpted cut of his profile, the high bridge of his nose, the clean line of his jaw. Just a t-shirt and sweats, yet you could imagine the muscle underneath. My palms went damp. Jason stopped in front of me. Isabel, I'm here. I straightened without thinking. He seemed to smile, just barely, and held out his hand. I lifted my sweaty fingers into his palm. He didn't say another word, just closed over my fingertips and led me upstairs. His seat was by the window in the very last row. I dawdled, pretending to sort my drawer, putting books in, taking them out until I finally found my nerve. I stood and walked to his desk. He was leaning back, looking at his phone. When I came over, he only lifted his eyes, then locked the lit screen. I drew a deep breath, moved a few books off his desk, and pulled the desk out. Jason raised a brow. Isabel, what are you doing? Before he finished, I swung a leg over and sat on his lap. Young Jason, not yet 19, was all fire and pulse. The moment I settled, his expression shifted. The muscle in his thighs turned iron hard and scorching. His Adam's apple jerked. His jaw tightened by degrees. Sweat slicked my palms. My heart hammered so fast it felt ready to rocket out of my chest. I plucked the phone from his hand and set it aside. My throat felt dry. I turned my head and gave a small cough before forcing myself to speak. Jason, you don't have to look at my photo anymore. When you look at it like that, I'm right here, in front of you. Gathering all the courage I had left, I lifted my eyes to him. A breeze drifted through the open window, making the silver moonlight waver. That light trembled across his face, flickering and uneven. The moonlight was pale, but the desire in his eyes burned like fire. I was nervous, scared, even but still held his gaze. Jason's eyes slowly traced down from my face, over the collar of my uniform, over the curve of my waist. Finally, his gaze landed on the hem of my skirt, shortened by 4 inches. The whiteness of my skin seemed brighter than the moonlight itself. I dropped my lashes, eyes darting away. But Jason reached up and gently clasped my wrist. His voice was lower than usual, hoarse and rough, in a way that made my heart tremble. Isabel, if you get off me now, it's not too late. For a moment I froze, but then I suddenly realized what he meant. My face flushed hot, and even the back of my neck burned. His sweatpants were thin, my skirt even shorter. I shifted awkwardly, trying to escape what felt like a live volcano about to erupt. But his hand tightened around my wrist. Jason, you're hurting me. Before I could finish, he lowered his head and kissed me. Between tangled breaths, I heard him whisper in my ear, "You're right, Isabel. You're right here in front of me. Why would I look at a photo? The next kiss came like a storm. My mind went blank, sight, sound, everything dissolved. My chin was caught in his hand as he kissed me deep, leaving me no room to breathe. I clung to his shoulders, fingers weak, dizzy from it all. Just when I thought I'd suffocate, familiar voices came from outside the door. "Jason, you in there?" The door creaked open right after the call. My whole body tensed. My heart nearly stopped. "Don't be scared." His school jacket, carrying that faint woody scent, suddenly blocked out all the light. He pressed me against his chest, covering me completely beneath it, hiding even my face. "Huh, so you really were in here," Larry said, walking closer. "Didn't see you all night. What are you doing hiding here?" I wrapped my arms around Jason's narrow waist, my fingers clenching instinctively, trembling all over. "Don't come closer." Jason's voice was low and steady, but with a weight that made people stop. Larry froze in his tracks. I felt Jason's hand pat my back through the jacket, slow and soothing. "Go back first. We'll talk tomorrow." Only then did Larry notice the shape of someone in Jason's arms. He chuckled. Got it. I'll leave you to it, man." He didn't dare stare, but as he turned, he caught another glimpse. The jacket covered the face, but the legs beneath the hem, slender, pale, long, looked an awful lot like Isabel's. He walked a few steps, then couldn't resist glancing back again. For some reason, it made him feel strangely uneasy. Jason's voice cut through the silence, cool and sharp. "You want to come over and take a good look?" Larry quickly waved his hands and hurried out. Others might not know Jason's background, but Larry did. That's why he'd always stayed close to him, close, but careful. Jason was quiet, but Larry knew better than to ever cross him. Even after leaving the classroom, Larry couldn't settle down. Jason hadn't shown up all night. Isabel had left midway and never returned. She hadn't replied to any messages either. That had never happened before. He frowned, hesitated for a long time, then finally pulled out his phone. Just as he was about to call Isabel, a new message popped up. His expression changed, and he turned, hurrying downstairs. Only when the hallway went still did Jason pull the jacket off me. "It's fine now. You can come out." "Okay." I straightened from his chest. Jason leaned back in his chair, looking up at me. "You're not getting off?" I lowered my eyes, not meeting his, but I didn't move. "Jason, speak. I don't like Larry anymore." I bit my lip hard, then looked up at him, forcing the words out. "I mean it." "Because of him and Jessica?" I shook my head. "No, whether Jessica's around or not, whether they're official or not. I just don't like him anymore." Jason didn't look convinced. He gave a faint, crooked smile. "Sure, got it. Jason. Don't you have anything to say to me?" The faint smile on his lips disappeared. In the dim classroom light, his eyes were darker than the night itself. "Isabel, whatever mess you and Larry have, I don't care. Whatever game you're playing tonight, I'm not interested. This was a one-time thing." He said it flatly, gripping my wrist. Then he pushed me off his lap. I didn't resist. He stood, grabbed his jacket, and walked out. As he passed me, he didn't even glance my way. I stayed where I was, frozen, until the tears burst free on their own. In this strange world, the only person who'd ever loved me was gone. Jessica and her mother would soon move into the house, taking everything that was mine. I hadn't gone to Jason tonight for any other reason, just because I liked him. I'd thought he liked me too. Now I saw it was only wishful thinking. To him, I was probably nothing more than a moment's impulse. All desire, no feeling. "Isabel, why are you crying?" I didn't know when he'd come back, but suddenly Jason was in front of me again. Tears blurred my vision as I looked up, startled. Moonlight poured down, and my tear-streaked face was reflected in his dark eyes. Jason reached out and wiped the tears from my lashes. "Why are you crying, Isabel? I thought the way you looked at my photo meant you liked me. I thought you kissed me because you liked me." "Jason, So it was just me being stupid. I turned my head, avoiding his hand, taking a small step back. I'm sorry. So, Isabel, he said quietly, you're crying because you think I don't like you. I didn't speak, just nodded through the tightness in my throat. Jason cupped my chin and tilted my face up again. His long fingers brushed away the last tears on my lashes. Stop crying. I turned away, still avoiding his gaze. Isabel, I was planning to go abroad for school, but now I've changed my mind. Come to the capital with me. Jason? I blinked up at him, dazed. Through the blur of tears, he bent down and kissed me. Of course I kissed you because I like you. He kissed the corner of my eye. Isabel, how can you be this dumb? The sadness that had sunk me to the ground suddenly bloomed into countless tiny flowers. My knees went weak under his kiss. Clutching his hoodie, I whispered between breaths. When did you start liking me? Jason didn't answer. He just lifted me onto the desk. Focus when you're kissing, Belle. And that skirt, you only wear it when you're with me. During the first month of summer break, Jason and I met in secret almost every day. We hadn't gone public yet only because I didn't want the Miller family to use me to get close to him. Jessica and her mother would soon return to the Miller household. It wouldn't be long before I, the unwanted daughter of the original wife, would fall completely out of favor with my father and be cast out. In the book, Isabel had suffered terribly because of this. She'd once been her father's beloved daughter, but when Jessica arrived, she slowly stole that love away. That's why she'd fought Jessica every step of the way. But I wanted to cut ties with the Miller family as soon as possible. I was of age now, and I could inherit my mother's estate. It would be enough for me to live comfortably and freely for the rest of my life. Then I wouldn't have to worry about causing trouble for Jason. Jason wasn't thrilled about it, but after I begged him for a while, he gave in. When the class monitor organized another gathering, a friend told me Jessica and Larry had broken up after a fight. That wasn't surprising. As the stories leads, they were always breaking up and making up in their endless drama. Belle, I heard Larry's been asking about you lately. Asking about what? Like what you've been up to? Which college you applied to? Oh, I don't know, Belle. I kind of feel like he's not totally over you. If he came to confess now, would you say yes? No. I was about to say I'd stopped liking Larry long ago, but before I could, Larry himself walked over. He pulled out the chair beside me and sat down. Belle, you've been so busy lately. Haven't seen you around. His hand rested on the back of my chair. The gesture intimate, almost possessive. I suddenly thought maybe that's how the Isabel in the novel had been misled by gestures like this. By his lack of boundaries until she fell too deep and couldn't crawl out. Cannon fodder was cannon fodder for a reason. Every time Jessica fought with Larry, he'd come running to me, using vague, flirty gestures to provoke her. Then, once they made up, I'd be tossed aside like a doormat. Pathetic, really. I stood up and switched to another seat. Larry looked startled. In the past, I would have lost my head over even that bit of attention and started clinging to him non-stop. Belle, what's going on with you lately? Nothing. I stared at him blankly. Just figured since you have a girlfriend, we should keep our distance. Larry held my gaze for 2 seconds, then suddenly laughed. So Belle's jealous, huh? I almost spat out the takoyaki Jason bought me last night. His buddies immediately started teasing. Come on, Isabel. Keep playing hard to get. We all know who'll end up crying. Look at her pretending she's probably thrilled inside. Man, Larry, I envy you. You're never single. I couldn't help but sneer, the cold crawling up my spine. Right. Larry never had a single gap. Whenever he and Jessica broke up, Isabel, the backup girl, would step right in. Foolish and willing. She'd suffer through the heartbreak, earn Jessica's hatred, and in the end, they'd get their happy ending while she died in a mental hospital. I wondered if Larry, with his wife and child in his arms, had ever shed a single tear for her. Larry, my voice was calm. We're all adults now. Stop doing these childish, ridiculous things. Okay? Isabel. Larry started to reply when the door swung open. Jessica walked in. The moment she saw him, her eyes went red. Larry didn't move. He just sat there, his handsome face wearing a soft, almost gentle smile. Belle, I remember you love the fish here, so I ordered some for you. What else do you want? I can have them bring more. He never even looked at Jessica, his gaze warm and fixed on me. It made me want to gag. I didn't bother answering, just stood to leave. But right then, Jason pushed the door open. The moment our eyes met, I panicked and looked away. My heart started racing, filling with those tiny, giddy bubbles again. He'd said he wouldn't come. Honestly, I hadn't wanted to either. But my best friend had begged me she wanted to confess to her crush tonight and needed moral support. I never expected Jason to show up. He usually hated parties like this. He sat down across from me, and my heart pounded like crazy, though I didn't dare look at him. Jason. The tearful Jessica suddenly stood from the corner and walked toward him. I wanted to ask your advice about something. Is now okay? She said, sliding into the chair beside him. But before she could even sit, Jason stood up and moved to another spot. No. He shot her a cold look. My girlfriend wouldn't like it. The whole room erupted. Jessica froze, stunned. Jason, you have a girlfriend? Someone from our class? Our school? How come we've never heard of her? Yeah, who is she? I'm dying to know what kind of girl could win Jason's heart. My friend grabbed my hand and squealed. Belle! Jason was so freaking hot just now. Seeing Jessica get shut down like that was the best thing ever. But seriously, who's his girlfriend? She must be so lucky. Jason's such a catch. I'm so jealous of that girl. My face went bright red, and I quickly clapped a hand over my friend's mouth. Keep your voice down, Anna. Wait, Belle. Why is your face so red? You sick or something? I scrambled to my feet. Just a little stuffy. I'm gonna hit the restroom. Want me to come? No need. I made it to the door in a few quick steps. As I pulled the handle, I could feel Jason's gaze land on my back. Then I heard his voice. She's from our school. She's shy and really sweet. I didn't want to scare her, so I haven't told anyone. Do we know her? Jessica pressed. She must be super pretty, right? And great figure too? You've got such high standards you'd never go for an average girl. Someone chimed in, is she hotter than our class beauty? Jessica giggled shyly. Don't be ridiculous. Of course she's way prettier than me. Just as the door closed, I heard Jason reply, calm and certain. Yeah, she's definitely prettier. The laughter and chatter froze instantly. When I came out of the restroom, Jason was waiting outside. I'd known he would be, but seeing him still filled me with a rush of joy. Come with me. He took my hand and led me down the hallway toward the far end. Where are we going? His grip tightened slightly, pulling me closer. His long fingers slipped around my waist. Missed you. We just saw each other last night. It's been a whole day. I couldn't help smiling. How much did you miss me? You'll find out soon. Neither of us noticed the classmate walking by on his way to the restroom, catching sight of us disappearing around the corner. He bolted back to the room. Guys, I think I just saw Jason with his girlfriend, out on the terrace. Flowers were in full bloom, dazzling even under the summer night. Jason sat in a chair. I knelt between his knees, slowly lowering myself, just like that night in the classroom. Jason. Did you always secretly look at my photos like that? You mean in the classroom? Or other times? Both. Jason's gaze dropped, his Adam's apple shifting. Every day. Every day. I stared at him, stunned. Jason, how could you even handle that? He chuckled, guiding my hand lower. What do you think? Like a mirage rising in the endless desert, something tall and proud, impossible to ignore. My fingertips trembled, burning, trying to pull away. But he only pressed them tighter. Belle, are you underestimating your man? I'm not, Jason. I'm scared. Let go. Scared of what? Of it. I told the truth. Obedient and honest. Sure, I'd read romance novels, and a few not-so-innocent ones. But I was only 18 when I landed in this book, with zero real experience. Jason laughed softly, amused. He let go of my hand and tugged me closer. Tilting my face up, he whispered hoarsely, "Belle, someday you'll love it." No way. My face burned so hot I thought it might ignite. Jason's hand found the back of my neck, pulling me even closer. His kisses deepened, my body melting like wax in his arms. "Belle." Jason panted lightly, pushing me back a little. My eyes were dazed, confused, but he lifted me onto a nearby chair, grabbed his cigarettes, and muttered in that same rough voice, "I'm gonna have a smoke." I glanced at a certain place and couldn't help but cover my mouth. Laughing, Jason shook his head, flicked my forehead lightly. "Isabel, just you wait." "Wait for what?" A voice suddenly came from the terrace door. "Jason, hiding out here again?" Larry's tone was closing in fast. I jumped, looking at Jason in alarm. He gave me a calming look, picked up the pack, and walked toward him. "Just having a smoke." But Larry didn't buy it. "You brought your girlfriend, didn't you?" "Jason, fine. Hide it from everyone else. But from me? That's low, man." Larry had an aunt who'd married into the capital, somehow distantly related to the Smith family. She was a social climber, always cozying up to Mrs. Smith. When Jason transferred in, Larry's aunt had told him to make friends with him at all costs. Larry started walking my way, but Jason stepped in front of him. "Larry, she's shy. Don't scare her." The night was dark, but his voice was darker, colder. Larry faltered, stopping in his tracks. "Go back. I'm staying here with her a while." But Larry didn't leave. "Oh, right, Jason. Have you seen Isabel?" The girls vanished into thin air. Jason's tone was casual. "Yeah. She went downstairs." "Left?" "Should've." Larry frowned. "All right. I'll go find her." But as he walked off, he pulled out his phone, and seconds later, mine started ringing. Larry froze mid-step. A soft voice sang from my ringtone. It was the same one Isabel in the book had used her favorite song. Larry's eyes went wide. "Belle." He turned back, gaze locking on the shadows among the flowers. I pulled my phone from my bag, ended the call, took a deep breath, and slowly stood up. The moment he saw me, Larry's expression twisted: shock, anger, resentment, and disbelief tangled in his eyes. "That night in the classroom, it was you, wasn't it? The girl with Jason. I didn't deny it. It was me." Larry suddenly hurled his phone to the ground. "Isabel, so that's why you've been ignoring me. You climbed up the ladder, huh? What? See a rich guy and can't wait to spread your legs?" "Larry, say that again." Jason grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the terrace railing. He was so strong that half of Larry's body hung dangerously over the edge. "Jason." I was afraid he'd lose control and hurt someone. My voice trembled. Jason didn't answer, just looked down at Larry from above. "Isabel is my girlfriend. When you insult her, you insult me." His tone dropped, cold and sharp. "So next time, think carefully before you try to mess with what's mine." With that, he abruptly released him. Larry stumbled, gasping for breath as he clung to the railing, his face pale with shock. Jason gave a humorless smirk. Pathetic. Larry's jaw clenched tight. He stared at Jason walking back toward me. But in the end, he didn't dare say another word. "Belle, let's go." Jason took my hand. As we passed Larry, I couldn't help glancing at him, and froze at the venom in his eyes. It was dark, poisonous, and cruel, making my skin crawl. On the way back, I couldn't shake the unease gnawing in my chest. Halfway home, Jason suddenly pulled over. "Belle, what's wrong?" His eyes were full of concern. I didn't know how to explain. Larry was the male lead of this story. Fate always favored him. Even if Jason's background far outshone his, the hero of every novel always crushed every rival, no matter how powerful. What if Larry started hating Jason because of me? Jason didn't even have a written ending in the book. I didn't dare imagine what might happen to him. Jason, I'm scared. Scared of what? Scared of dragging him down. Scared that he'd suffer for me. Scared his fate would mirror Isabel's tragic one in the story. Regret crashed over me. Regret forever involving him. Maybe we should take a break. Isabel. His hand clamped around my wrist. In the closed car, our breathing tangled together. At this distance, the old Jason would have kissed me already. But now his gaze was icy, searching my face as if to see through me. Why break up? Because of Larry, right? You still have feelings for him, don't you? No. Then why end it? Jason suddenly gripped my chin, forcing my face up. He stared down, his thin lips curving faintly. Isabel, still trying to lie to me? I'm not, Jason, I swear. I don't like him. I haven't for a long time. Don't like him. Then why did you want to leave me just because he looked your way? Jason. His fingers tightened, and tears spilled from my eyes before I could stop them. I'm just worried about you. Worried? About me? Larry's a vindictive man. He doesn't want me, but he won't let me be with anyone else. I'm afraid he'll hate you for it, and take it out on you. The moment I said it, the hostility drained from Jason's face. His grip loosened, and his thumb brushed the red marks he'd left on my jaw. Belle. His tone softened. You really don't think I can handle him, do you? Jason let out a low, proud laugh. Forget Larry. 10 Kelly families couldn't make me flinch. But, he leaned in, voice lowering to a teasing whisper. You were worried about me, weren't you, Belle? He pressed his forehead to mine, his tall nose brushing my skin. Warm and intimate. I'm happy. Feels good. Better than watching your photo that night. Jason! I bit his lip. Flustered. How did he always manage to turn everything into that? Anyway, don't ever say we should split again, Isabel. Unless you stop liking me. Summer was nearly over, and I was getting ready to leave for university in the capital. 3 days ago, Jason's mother fell ill, so he returned to the capital early. We'd agreed he'd come to pick me up at the airport. But just before I left, someone came to see me. You know the cliché where the male lead's elegant mother appears before the heroine with a fat check, asking her to leave her son, and the heroine always struggles, then walks away for his sake. Now, the same thing was happening to me. Only this time, Jason's mother didn't even bother to show up. Someone as insignificant as me wasn't worth her time. She sent her housekeeper instead. Even so, the housekeeper's presence was overwhelming. Miss Isabel, please have a look at this. The poised middle-aged woman across from me handed over a tablet. Several videos played of my biological father, Jack, who had gone to the capital a week ago. In them, he shamelessly introduced himself as the Smith family's future-in-law, begging them for investment and partnership. Miss Isabel, out of respect for our young master, the Smiths agreed to the deal. But the Smith family cannot afford to be shamed like this. We cannot accept in-laws like that. I started trembling, frozen from the inside out. Larry must have told Jack about Jason and me, pushing him to the capital. I hadn't thought Jack could sink this low. He wasn't even desperate, so why stoop to humiliating himself like that? Miss Isabel, I'm sure you understand the importance of being well-matched. Our young master is the sole heir of both the Smith and Dawson families. He's been treasured since birth, but the weight on his shoulders is far heavier than most. If it weren't for you, Master Jason would already be studying abroad with his childhood fiancée. After what's happened, his family is furious. But Madam has made it clear, you are someone he cares for. You won't be mistreated or harmed. However, Jason has deeply disappointed his elders and hurt Miss Kristen as well. Punishment is inevitable. We hope you can think clearly and make the choice that's best for both you and him. The gentler her tone, the more my heart ached like it was being cut open. If they'd insulted or threatened me, maybe I could have stood firm. But instead, they reasoned kindly, leaving the decision to me, punishing Jason instead of me. Only then did I finally understand why the heroine in the novel had chosen to walk away. Like two mothers fighting over a child, the real mother always lets go first, afraid of hurting them. Tell me, how is Jason? Is he all right? Master Jason was disciplined by family law, but he's resting now. No serious harm. My tears fell like broken pearls. Unstoppable. The woman sighed softly, handing me a tissue. Miss Isabel, I know this is painful, but you love him, don't you? And when you truly love someone, you want what's best for them. She wasn't wrong. Love is about letting go, but it's selfish too. Can I see him? She shook her head. No. Please, just give me some time. Miss Isabel, there isn't any. You know your father has put the Smiths in an impossible position. The family's century-old reputation cannot be tainted. I understood perfectly well. So long as I was Jack's daughter, so long as I stayed with Jason, Jack would never stop trying to climb higher. At first, I'd sought Jason out because I liked him, but also because I wanted to escape Isabel's doomed fate. To escape the Millers, Jessica and her mother, and Larry's revenge. Jason had seemed like the perfect way out, but now I regretted everything. I shouldn't have dragged him and his entire family into this mess. What should I do? Make him give up on you, Miss Isabel. And suddenly, I remembered what Jason once told me. Isabel, unless you stop liking me. So this was what heartbreak felt like your chest was splintering apart. I forced a smile through the tears. I understand, but I have one condition. Please, go on. Just as my paperwork for studying abroad was finalized, chaos erupted in the Miller family. On the eve of Jessica and her mother's grand return to be formally acknowledged, a scandal broke out how Jessica's mother had been the mistress who tore apart a marriage and drove the original wife to her death. At the same time, Jack had found himself a new, younger lover in the capital. The new woman was even more cunning than Jessica's mother, and soon had Jack wrapped around her finger. He forgot all about the old mistress. Ruined and desperate, Jessica's mother threatened to jump from a building when Jack refused to take her and Jessica back to the Miller estate. Jack showed up briefly, offered a few cold words, and left with his new flame. The moment he was gone, the woman lost control and jumped. She survived, but was left a vegetable. Out of pity for Jessica, Jack gave them a sum of money, then vanished from their lives. But not long after, he overdid it with performance pills while trying to impress his new lover, and suffered a stroke, leaving him half paralyzed. And so, Jessica remained an illegitimate daughter, never acknowledged by the Millers. I, as the only legitimate child, inherited everything Jack left behind. Jessica shamelessly tried to confront me several times, but my bodyguards always threw her out before she even got close. I sold off all the Miller family's assets and donated half of the proceeds to a charity for women and children. The remaining half I entrusted to a professional agent to manage. Before leaving the country, I visited my mother's grave. She had been Isabel's biological mother, and though she once had nothing to do with me, now that I occupied Isabel's body and life, she was my mother too. I knelt before her grave, bowed 3 times, and covered it with her favorite flowers. I hoped that in the afterlife, this poor woman could finally rest in peace, and that the daughter she'd worried for would live well, strong, happy, and free of that tragic fate. Larry came to see me several times. He said he'd realized he'd always liked me. He said he wanted to be with me. He said he wanted to study abroad together. He even said Jessica had become unbearable like a madwoman. Finally, he told me, Belle, the Smith family's status is too high. No matter how much Jason likes you, when it comes to profit, he'll choose compromise. But I'm different. We grew up together. We know each other. You're alone now, and you've inherited both your parents' fortunes. So many eyes must be watching you. If you're with me, at least the Kelly family and I can protect you. I hadn't spoken a word until then. Only when he said that did I let out a cold laugh. Larry, If I'm not mistaken, you chose Jessica before because Jack was bringing her back into the family. And since he spoiled her, the Miller inheritance would have gone to her. Marrying her meant marrying into the Miller fortune. And you could use that to climb higher. I remembered the ending of the book. Larry married Jessica and treated her like a delicate little wife. He managed both the Miller and Kelly family businesses, while Jessica did nothing but arrange flowers, sip tea, shop, and bear children. That's where the story ended. The prince and princess lived happily ever after. But in reality, Jessica would have become useless, pampered into idleness. And Larry, once he reached the top, how long would his love have lasted? Now that Jessica had fallen and the Miller fortune was mine, Larry came back saying he loved me. Truly, he was born to scavenge the spoils. Larry frowned. Belle, you really underestimate me. I've never needed to climb up through a woman. The Kellys are no less than the Millers. I just didn't want to see you get hurt. I looked at his feigned tenderness and couldn't help but wonder, how had this man ever been the male lead of the story? Then again, in such a ridiculous, over-the-top romance, no character twist was too absurd. Larry, I don't need your nostalgia. And I don't need you. I told you already I stopped liking you long ago. You're not still pinning your hopes on Jason, are you? He's got a proper fiancé from his own class. Isabel, what right do you think you have to compete with a third-generation heiress? I didn't answer. That day, I had the butler deliver a letter to Jason. It contained only one line. Jason, I don't like you anymore. But only Jason and I knew what that really meant. That night, after he'd said those same words to me, I told him, Jason, if one day I ever say that to you, don't believe me, and don't forget to come find me. Love means letting go, but it's also selfish. It means holding on, no matter what. In my second year abroad, on my 20th birthday, during a party with friends, Larry suddenly appeared. Dressed to impress, a bouquet of roses in hand, his gaze deep and burning as ever. My friends, unaware of our past, cheered and teased, but I didn't even glance at him. I just turned and walked away. Larry followed me out to my car, still refusing to give up. I spotted a police officer nearby and was about to call out when, through the misty street, a familiar yet distant silhouette appeared. Larry was suddenly seized by several bodyguard-looking men and dragged to a waiting car. The vehicle pulled away quickly. That was the first time I'd ever seen Jason in a suit. Black-tailored wool, a long overcoat to match. On him, it didn't look heavy at all. Instead, it only made him seem more regal, more impossibly handsome. The Chinese girl beside me clutched my arm and squealed, "Oh my God, Belle. That man is insanely hot. His legs are longer than my life. Belle, he's looking this way. Is he coming over? Tell me he's not a celebrity." I shook my head, feeling as if I were floating in London's fog, dizzy and weightless. "No, he's not a celebrity." "Then who is he? Do you know him?" "I do. He's the man I love. My boyfriend, Isabel." Jason stopped a few steps away, then reached out his hand. "Come here." I felt as if I were walking on air, unsteady and light. I'd had a bit to drink. Maybe that was why my palms and cheeks burned. When Jason pulled me into his arms, that familiar, clean, woody scent enveloped me again. Time seemed to rewind to that summer, that classroom. I tilted my face up to him. "Jason, do you still look at my photos all the time?" He smiled faintly. "Every day. Can you even handle that?" "No. That's why I came for you, Isabel." "Why did it take you so long?" My vision blurred without warning. Jason lowered his head and kissed me softly. "Because I didn't want you to suffer again for being with me." For over a year, he had been fighting against both families. Thankfully, not for too long. He knew his only real advantage was that his family loved him. Because they loved him, they finally chose to relent. When he told his mother he was going to find me, she asked, "Jason, is she really the only one for you?" He hugged her and said simply, Haven't you and Dad taught me that all my life? Mrs. Smith burst into tears. She and her husband had spent a lifetime devoted only to each other, so in that moment, she understood and gave her blessing. Jason took me to his home in London. He'd started renovating it the day I arrived to study abroad. From our bedroom window, you could see a small garden. That night, after his shower, he came out to find me on the terrace. Moonlight poured through the glass, lighting his sharp, handsome features. I leaned on the couch, looking up at him. Jason, I'm right here in your arms now. You don't have to look at my photos anymore. He froze for a moment, then chuckled softly and pulled me close. In that instant, the world went still, no words, just the rhythm of our breaths and our hearts. He stroked my hair and whispered, "Now, even if you walk away, it's too late." I rested my head against his chest, listening to the steady, gentle beat of his heart. That warmth made me laugh softly. The breeze carried the scent of flowers through the window. We looked at each other and smiled, saying nothing. Some feelings needed no words. Later, he lifted my chin, eyes tender, yet resolute. "Isabel," he said quietly, "this past year I've thought about so much, and I've come to understand you weren't a coincidence in my life. You were fate." That night, we fell asleep in each other's arms. No vows, yet something even deeper. He gave me a silent promise, and I returned it with all my trust. Before I fell asleep, I whispered, "Jason, when did you start liking me?" "The first day I transferred." "Why did you like me?" "I don't really know. The first time I saw you, you felt familiar, like I'd known you before, like my whole life had been leading me to you." I blinked, then smiled. "Jason, I don't want another life. No next time, no rebirth, no destiny. I just want this one, this moment, this life, this love." My voice melted into the wind. He whispered against my ear, "All right, just this life then. Who cared about eternity or reincarnation? Tonight's moonlight was enough to last us a lifetime."